Welcome to Once Upon a Castle, unlocking the magic of Disney, past and present. I'm Ginny, your guide through the parks and the pages of Disney's rich history. Each week, we will share expert tips to help you plan your perfect visit and explore the stories, secrets, and legends that make the magic real. From Walt's vision to today's hidden gems, we will help you feel more connected, more prepared, and more enchanted every step of the way. So, whether you're counting down the days to your next trip or just dreaming of a stroll down Main Street, USA, this is your place to discover the wonder. This is Once Upon a Castle. Welcome back to Once Upon a Castle podcast, the show where we take a stroll down the avenues, attractions, and stories that make Disneyland more than just a park. It's a living, breathing piece of American imagination. Thank you so much for joining me. We wrapped up recently our series on Adventureland, but before we head on into our next adventure, I have a couple fun little episodes coming your way. So before we dig into today's episode, let's hear from one of you listeners. So today's review comes from listener Stan Rogers, and Stan wrote me a lovely email. And here's what Stan said. Really enjoy your podcast. Heard about it from Steph Sanchez and have since listened to all of yours. A big fan of how you put some of the history into yours. Put a 5-star review down, but not sure if it went through. I'm not sure either, Stan, but I sure appreciate you. But I was wondering for a future podcast on how Disneyland makes it all happen every day, day after day. With getting all the food into each food concession location, removal of the garbage, employees in and out, merchandise, etc. That's just a big undertaking, and nobody ever sees that being done while we are all enjoying our day at the parks. Plus, if there's a chance to know how many people come to the parks daily, how many Mickey Mouse ice cream bars are sold daily, etc. I find it all so interesting that a place that size, and they seem to make it look so easy. Thank you and keep up the good work. A new fan of yours. Thank you, Stan, so much for reaching out and your positive feedback. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you listening. And I love your idea for a future episode. I completely agree. Totally would love to nerd out about any and all of the kind of like day-to-day back of house operations. So after reading this email, I knew exactly who I wanted to reach out to, so that's why I brought on the guest that we're going to hear from today. However, I know that there's so much more that we can know and learn. So if any of you listeners out there know about the behind the scenes day-to-day operations of the park, or you know someone that does know this stuff, please reach out. We would love to have them, and I think that would make all of Stan's dreams come true. It would make all of my dreams come true. It would be super fascinating. So thank you so much, Stan, for your feedback and for such a wonderful idea. I hope that you enjoy today's episode and it scratches that little itch that you have. And other listeners, if you're enjoying this episode, I'd love your help spreading the magic. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review. Leaving a rating and a review truly helps other Disney dreamers like Stan find their way to this wonderful little podcast. I love reading these reviews, not just because they mean so much to me, but because they remind me why this podcast exists in the first place. Disneyland isn't just a collection of rides or lands. It's a place layered with memory, intention, history, and human stories. Stories that often live quietly in the background while waiting to be noticed. And today's episode is all about that deeper layer. Today, we're stepping beyond the guest experience and into the lived experiences of someone who helped maintain the show, protect the magic, and witness Disneyland from a perspective most guests never get to see. This conversation isn't about trivia or lists. It's about meaning. It's about stewardship. It's about how working at Disneyland, especially behind the scenes, can shape a lifelong love for the park and its history. If you've ever wondered what Disneyland feels like when you're part of the operation, if you've ever sensed that there's more happening in the park that's immediately visible, or if you simply love hearing stories that make Disneyland feel more human and alive, you're in the right place. Let me introduce you to today's guest. Okay, my friends, joining me is Lynn Barron, creator and the host of the Sweet Spot podcast, a show beloved by Disney fans for its thoughtful storytelling, deep dives into Disney history, and genuine love for the park. Lynn is also an author, a Disney historian, and a former Disneyland custodial cast member, one of the roles that quite literally keep the magic alive. His time behind the scenes gave him a rare perspective on Disneyland, not just as a theme park, but as a living, breathing story shaped by people, details, and intention. That experience sparked a lifelong passion for preserving and sharing Disneyland's history, story, and spirit. Today, Lynn also helps others create their own meaningful Disney memories as a travel planner with Concierge Travel, bringing that same care, knowledge, and heart into every trip he plans. This conversation goes beyond trivia and nostalgia. We're talking about what it means to serve the show, how Disney deepens the magic, and how understanding Disneyland's past can completely transform the way we experience it today. I'm so excited, as I bet you are, to welcome Lynn Barron to the show. Go, Lynn! Woo!
Wow. I hope I can live up to that big introduction.
Well, I wrote it based upon everything I know about you. So, welcome to Once Upon a Castle. Super excited to have you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dig in here. I'm really curious about, I am a listener and a fan of the Sweep Spot, but I want to kind of know a little bit more about where this idea came from. How did you get started? Give us the juicy details, would you?
Um, okay, so I grew up in Southern California, went to Disneyland like a lot of others that lived in that area once a year, twice a year maybe. Like it was my birthday one time I was a child or like young teenager and my mom said, "What do you want to do for your birthday? Can I invite a friend to Disneyland?" And back then it was like $25, $30 to get in. So it wasn't a big deal, but um still it was, and she'd give me like $20 for, food for the whole day.
That could get you far back then.
Yeah, and a souvenir.
Yeah,
So yeah.
wow.
But then I went on later and we can talk about that later, but to work there two different times, two different roles too. Um and went there as a pass holder. And then when I met my wife, we both had annual passes and we'd go very often, a few times a week, because we lived maybe 20 minutes away in Long Beach, California. Um, so then, we got married and I was working there in Custodio in 1998. Um, and I left in 2007, the year my son was born, because we couldn't afford a house in California anymore. And we were just kind of crowded and kind of done with all the hustle and bustle. So my wife had some family in Utah, and so we thought about moving here, and we ended up buying a house here, and that was in 2007. So I was in Custodio 98 to 2007, moved here, and then I missed being a part of Disneyland, just helping guests and just being around everything. Uh, so I found some podcasts, and I thought, oh, that's pretty neat. I didn't even know about podcasts. This was maybe 2008, 9, somewhere in there. And I started listening to one of the first Disneyland ones because there wasn't a lot of Disneyland podcasts then. Was Wedway Radio, which they
Oh,
did
mhm.
um, like everything Disney, but they did do Disneyland. And so, anyways, I reached out to Nate, and he kind of helped me and said, "Hey, you should do a podcast." And I said, "I don't know, I'm not much of a speaker. It doesn't matter." Um, so I thought about it more, and then kind of a sad part of the story, my mom passed away in 2010, and I was just kind of down and wanting to do something, and I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to do the podcast thing. That'll help
Yeah.
me, um, keep my mind off things and just kind of do something fun because Disneyland makes me happy. And so I started it in 2010 March. So we're on our 15th year
Wow.
now. Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah,
That's huge, especially in the podcast world.
yeah, yeah. So Ken Pellman was someone that I worked with in custodial at Disneyland, who I met him then. But he was my first choice, and he couldn't commit to the show. He said, "I don't know. I've been real busy. He just had um, one of his kids was born, and he was just real busy." So I said, "Okay." So I reached out to a woman I worked with named Laura, and she was really into Disneyland history and didn't work there anymore. She had moved on with her career, and asked her about a podcast. She said, "Yeah, that'd be fun." So we did that. Laura and I did about 100 episodes for
Hmm.
about 2 years, and then it wasn't working out timing wise, and it was just getting to be a struggle. And that kind of, I was like, maybe it's the end of the podcast, And then I reached out to Ken. He's like, "No, I can do it. Let's do it." So we've
Awesome.
been going strong since then. Yeah.
What would you say has been some of your most like cherished memories over the course of your 15 years on the podcast?
Some of the guests and meeting some of the listeners.
Okay.
And the way we were able to meet the listeners was because of the books mostly. We did like we were at D23 expos a
Hmm.
few times selling our books, Queening the Kingdom, and that was something I didn't think I'd ever do is write a book. But Ken had always really good at writing, and he did a journal of things, and when he worked there, he'd go home and write stuff down, and
Wow.
sometimes. And I just thought, I don't know. I guess I have some stories. And so we just started writing a book. He said, "Here, you write this and I'll do this." And we put it together, and and it happened. We even wrote a second one. But
Yeah. And they're
uh,
fantastic, by the
oh,
way.
thank you.
I have listened to them on audiobook because
Yeah,
Ken has a wonderful
he
book
does.
narrating voice, and like it's just so soothing to listen
He
to.
does. Yeah. Yeah, we've been told, which is, I don't know if it's a compliment. We always joke about it, but we've been told, yeah, your podcast puts me to sleep. I listen to it before I go to sleep. I'm like, oh, is that a compliment?
You know, you both have good, soothing, relaxing,
Yeah,
calm voices. Yeah, yeah, you know,
I get it. Yeah.
creating a safe space for the ears.
Yeah.
Uh,
But meeting the listeners was just something that kind of like, wow, there's people that listen because as you know, like you see numbers, and you're like, all right, we have this many downloads or listeners, but
hmm.
then you start getting comments and things, and some of them aren't so nice, and some are, and then you meet people, and they
Yeah.
tell you about how they found you or what it means to to them to listen, especially during COVID times. We just kept
Mm,
rolling away, going with it. And I even started doing extra episodes during that time. And we had people come up, "Oh, you helped us, get through it." And we
hmm.
missed Disney. And but then some of the guests have just been amazing. And we've been very lucky. We've had Tony Baxter on, Rolly
Yeah.
Crump, Tom Morris, Bob Gurr. I mean, just these names that I just would never think I'd be able
Phenomenal.
to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just listened, was it yesterday? I think it was, as I'm like doing my household chores
Mhm.
and to your re-release of your interview with Tony Baxter.
Oh
And
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was just a good reminder of so good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
It's been good.
That's amazing. So you talked a little bit about your transition into the books, but kind of will you tell us a little bit more about what's the premise and what was the passion and desire for writing them?
Well, we had these stories, and it's sort of like we'd see each other and when we were working. Hey, guess what happened to me yesterday? This and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
So
we'd,
I'm in education, and we actually
uh-huh.
have a little notebook in our teacher's lounge of like stuff my students say. And you can just
Oh,
write down because, kids just say the wildest things sometimes. And you get to like write it down. So it's fun to just sit in there and like read the stories of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was said.
oh, I could relate to that too.
I
I'm a
bet.
custodian at a middle school, so
Oh,
yeah,
so you
I
totally
talk
get it. Yeah.
I talk to teachers all the time, and we
Yeah.
have our own stories. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
just yeah, so we'd have these stories we'd talk about, and Ken had always wanted to write a book, and so we just started thinking of all the different, I started jotting down things I could remember, and at this point, I've been gone maybe 5 years, and I mean, how many people can write about a whole book on, their time working somewhere?
Yeah.
You know, Disneyland, I guess, is easier. I don't know. I mean, a regular job, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and I think too, the books just give, and the podcasts give people such a great insight to kind of the back of house, as you might
Yeah.
say, perspective. So, some of us nerd out on the history, but then just the standard operations, right? I think I shared in like my first episode, the first time I went to any Disney park was Disney World,
Mhm.
and already just getting out of the car and going through the parking lot and taking the tram from the parking lot to the boat, I was like blown away. Like, how is this
Yeah.
happening with all of these people? It's just
Yeah.
phenomenal, the operations and the magnitude that this beast is.
And that goes along with just the stories in general, just talking about, I have this, you've probably heard it on other podcasts I've been on. I've talked about this ghost story. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but I tell what happened to me and what I think it was. But, um, that's kind of like a behind the scenes because I talk about that it happened after hours and how the park was clear and how I found out it was clear to the of all day guests and this and that. But so we write about, stories like that. Then we have stories about people we worked with. I mean, there's so many different personalities and people that we worked with over the years that some are hilarious, some are not, some, are frustrating, but I think it's real and everyone can relate to it in some way, even if you didn't work at Disneyland, you could relate to it at your job, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
in some form. But yeah, behind the scenes is something that so David Koenig's books, The Mouse Tales, was one of the first books, and that came out in the 90s that really had a behind the scenes talk. Like before that, it was kind of taboo, like, oh, even if you're a former cast member, you shouldn't talk about that.
Uh-huh.
But he went around and started interviewing all these cast members and interviewed Ken actually for one of his books. But he was like the first one, and we kind of became friends with him. But he kind of opened up that genre, to be able to do that for everyone. And so
Mm-hmm.
that kind of enabled us to be able to write those stories. And at first I thought, oh, we're going to hear from Disney and
A cease and desist order from
yeah.
Disney.
But we don't I mean, I could easily write a whole book on all the negative things that happen while working there, because it's not all fun and games.
Sure.
You deal with management, you deal with disgruntled employees and this and that. But we try to keep it positive, and we don't want to like bash the company, which I guess we could do if we wanted, but I wouldn't want to do that because I enjoy going and I still think highly of the place, and I still believe in the vision that
Mm.
it is. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. So tell us more about the vision and
Mhm.
what that means to you.
So in custodial, when I first worked there, I I was told because I wanted to do attractions, but then someone said, no, you want to do custodial because you're out and about and you get to work in different places. You get to know the whole park. You're not just in one spot. I said, okay, that's fine. So when I went in, I actually asked for it and they put me in custodial, but I didn't. And I was already a guest and I've been there many times. And well, let me rewind. I told you earlier that I had worked at Disneyland twice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in 1990, I graduated and I went and applied at Disneyland. and I was offered at Plaza Inn Restaurant as a busser.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And in that complex, they had Plaza Inn, which is now the Jolly Holiday Bakery or whatever
Uh-huh.
over there. That was a restaurant, and then they had the employee cafeteria, which was in between. And we would work all three of those and be scheduled, whatever one for that day. Well, that was 1990, and I worked there seasonally. So I was like a seasonal, like you work Christmas break, Easter,
Hmm.
summers, that sort of thing. But I was getting called in for other shifts throughout the year too. Sometimes they just have a busy weekend. They needed some people. So I was young and I was in a bands, and that was my priority was music at the time. I played drums, and I was just real excited about that. So if I had a shift and we were going to be playing somewhere as a band, I thought, oh, I want to do that. I don't want to go to work. So I call in sick,
Mm,
18, 19 years old. You don't think about all this. And
right.
yeah, so I was let go because I called in too
Oh man.
after about 2 years of that.
Mm.
But so when I went to apply for custodial, they said, we noticed that you have a no rehire status because if you don't leave on good terms, they
Yeah,
have that.
yeah. Oh
I said,
boy.
oh, that's right. They said, but you can appeal it if you write down why you think we should hire you. And I said, okay.
Hmm.
So I kind of wrote out this thing. I was a dumb young kid, and I'm ready to commit, and I've proven that in my previous jobs before this.
Hmm.
Because at this point I was probably like 24, I think, and I was done with the bands. We had done a bunch of tours around the U.S. and all this stuff, and that's a whole nother discussion.
A whole
But
nother life.
it is. Some amazing things happened. But so I was ready to commit. I wanted to do that, and so they hired me. And where was I going with this? Oh, so the whole vision, and I started custodian. And I was kind of like, I kind of felt like I don't know, picking up trash, and it's not the most desirable job. But then I started to appreciate it because I started to get more into the history, and I bought books and things and reading how important it is, how important it was to Walt that a park was going to be clean because back then there was no theme parks. It was carnivals and fairs and beachside amusement parks. So
Yeah, and they were
yeah,
skeezy.
right, right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people don't realize that then. I mean, then they did, but now people just take it for granted. Amusement park, Universal, Knott's, Disneyland. They think of all that, but um, I started to realize how particular we were in custodial and how good we were at it. I mean, just cleaning up our parade with all this confetti everywhere, and I'm just looking around, how are we going to clean this up? They have these big giant vacuums, and we go down the street and suck it all up, and have people hanging off the buildings with blowers, blowing it under the street, and it's just this whole operation that cleaning up this parade, we had the whole route cleaned within, like 15, 20 minutes. It's just
Hmm.
amazing. I thought, wow, this is incredible. And started to appreciate what custodial was and started to understand how important it was, all the way back to Walt's vision of keeping the park clean
Hmm.
for guests. So,
Yeah, that was so important for him, and I'm so
mhm.
thankful. Even just today, the high standard still remains, and we
Yeah.
went to another popular theme park this summer. I won't say where, and I feel like we spent the whole day being like, that wouldn't be at Disney. That wouldn't happen at Disney.
I know,
And
I
it
do that
really,
too.
but it made like it, it
Mhm.
it makes it a special experience, and like creates an atmosphere of safety, right? Where
Yeah.
people's like inhibitions can and guards can be let down and they can truly enjoy themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the standards, like the more you read, especially reading our books or listening to our podcast, you get to learn more about it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people didn't know, like, example, the restrooms. We had to, every hour they were cleaned. We'd have to go in and sign our name, put the time we got there, what we
Mhm.
did while we were there, and then what time we left. And that was every hour,
Yeah.
sometimes more. But yeah, it was every hour. Every restroom in the park's cleaned at least once an hour.
Yeah, that's great. I know sometimes you go into like restaurants or like fast food places and you can see the little signs in their bathrooms and you're like, I know you didn't do that. I know you weren't in here at that time. You did not do that.
So if you
Um,
do see a restroom messy at Disneyland, just know that someone's on their way because because I would show up sometime, like when I leave, it's really clean. And
mhm,
of course, by the time I get back there, it's messy again, but it gets
right,
cleaned up in 10 minutes, So,
right.
yeah.
So looking back now, how do you think being a cast member really shaped the way that you see and experience Disneyland today?
Like kind of what we were talking about behind the scenes and just knowing all the work, not just custodial, but everyone and how every role is so important. Um, I mean, even down to, someone selling popcorn. I mean, the attractions, the hosts there, hostesses, just everyone comes together for this one vision. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone that works there was so excited to be there, like, and had that vision. Some
Sure.
people took it as just a job. Like, I'm here working. I live in Anaheim and it's a place to work, you know. But I think a lot of the people were there because of that reason. They're not there for the pay. I can say that because there's definitely other places that probably pay more.
Yeah.
Um, and they're working on it from what it sounds like. Because they ask a lot of you, and I always thought you should be paid accordingly for that. But it's changed in a way that, like I said, appreciate the park for what it is, the history behind it, what it takes to put it on every day, the same thing, day after day, and to keep up a park and see everyone painting in the morning or how the night custodial, because I was day custodial, how night would hose down the streets, pressure wash, just all the cleaning, wiping down all the trash cans, the poles on the carousel, brasso. I mean, just
Mhm.
every little detail. We have a whole window washing crew. That's all they do is clean windows.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much detail goes into it.
Hmm.
I think it's probably lovely now that people aren't having to like repaint
Yeah.
every single thing every night, like some of the in the beginning when they were having to repaint
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
stanchions and stuff every night.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So over the course of your time, was there ever like a moment that really stands out to you when you realized like the park itself is a place that matters more to people than you had really like anticipated or expected?
Um, I think that as far as like parts of the park,
Mhm.
like Main Street, I think is
Mhm.
in Fantasyland are two of the most important parts because Walt, like, that reminded him, Main Street, of his hometown, Marceline. And really, it represents a lot of small towns back in that day, not just Marceline. In Fantasyland, that was just one of his things. And, it's just kind of off topic a little bit, but people talk about, oh, we just want rides, no more IPs, about,
Mm,
so rides based off movies. And actually, that's all Disneyland mostly was, when it opened, well,
that's
if you think
true.
about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so Fantasyland, with all the representations of the movies he had up to that point, and even Sleeping Beauty Castle, that movie wasn't even released at
Hmm.
the time it was built. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and Adventureland being built around their real life documentaries and
yeah,
yeah, there was
mhm.
and I've fallen down that path too as they start to
I
throw
did.
out
Yeah.
more IP now. And maybe it's
Mhm.
just simply IP that doesn't resonate with me.
Mhm.
Um, like personally speaking, bringing Pandora to DCA.
Yeah.
That's just not, I love that land and that area in Disney World, and
Mhm.
it's phenomenal, but
Yeah.
it's not an IP that resonates to me personally. So I kind of feel like, really? Like, There wasn't
Yeah,
anything else, or,
I know.
maybe like we want something, I want something to be more original. And, but I'm often reminded that, the park originated with the IP at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and when the park really started to explode and take off a bit more, in like that 80s, the Eisner era, right?
Right, right.
That IP resonates with me because that's what I grew up on. So to me,
Hmm.
that's the part that's nostalgic and that I connect to. Um, and
Right.
while I,
Well,
I love newer things, it's not
hmm, hmm.
always the thing that like I feel super passionate about in certain ways.
Right.
I guess I'm just getting at Pandora personally, like kick rocks. We gotta do. I
I hear
wish
you.
we were doing something different.
I'm not excited about it, but I'm sure that it'll be good regardless. And
Yeah,
that's the thing I try to remember too is does it really matter about the movie or whatever is the experience, right? I mean, even people
absolutely.
that don't like Star Wars or have never seen it, I'm sure they love Rise of Resistance, you know.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point because it's not that I dislike Star Wars. It's just not my
Yeah.
niche. My husband absolutely loves it,
Yeah.
but I love Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
And I definitely, Rise of the Resistance is one of my favorite. It is so fun and amazing. And I
Hmm.
couldn't tell you more than like one of those characters, right? But at that
Right,
point, it
right.
doesn't matter. It's the
No,
immersive experience that you're feeling like you are literally transported somewhere totally different. So I'm sure I'll feel the same way when it comes to Pandora, and it's going to be
right.
beautiful, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. So speaking of kind of the experience,
Hmm.
right? Disneyland isn't just a place to go and get your, kicks on the thrill rides, but it truly is that experience. So how has learning about Disneyland's history, because I know you love Disney history,
Yeah.
how has that specifically changed the way that you, as a guest, experience the park today?
I think it makes you appreciate things and it also they have little nods to things that maybe you don't realize unless you did know some of the history. I mean,
Hmm.
just little things all over the park. And so when you learn those things, then you're like, wow, that's cool. They put that there, you know, as a tribute to this person or whatever, you know, different things. Um, I think that's one of the things that makes it fun is that you learn a lot from the history, and then you could see that in the parks and learn more about it. And it just makes you want to learn more about, oh, who's this? You know, you hear about Rolly Crump. Oh, well, what did he do? You know, and then you go down that whole rabbit hole and you learn about Tiki Room and Haunted Mansion and Small World, and it just kind of never stops because there's so many things there that you could just the small details. Like my friend Russell put out a book, Scene on Scene Disneyland, and you can like he did this whole book about all the little things that you don't notice, you know, that you probably see every time you go. And
Right.
yeah, it's just amazing. And they do that on purpose because they're so artistic, the Imagineers, and you know, they put all those details in.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and everything is done with a lot of intentionality.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that I really love and appreciate is it's not this idea of let's just simply crank people through.
Right.
Which I know that there is some of that aspect too, because they're
Oh,
a company, they got to make money, but it's not just, yep, let's crank people through, but it's really let's give people an experience, an emotional connection to the memories that they're creating, the time that they have here.
right. And you know, they're a company and they're humans
Mm.
and there's things they make mistakes and there might be things that we disagree. You were talking about making money and some of the things I kind of go, I don't know. Like that seems like they're trying to penny pinch people out of, you know, trying to
Yeah, yeah.
take every dime they come in with. But overall, you know, I try to look past that because I try to remember the history behind it and they still honor that and, you know, it's great. But yeah.
So, are there any like really specific historical moments or like design choices or even philosophies from Walt's original vision that you feel are still alive in the park today?
I think as far as design,
Hmm.
forced perspective is something that is still put into everything. Animatronics, I mean, that was something they came up with, with Tiki Room in 1963, and then used it in the World's Fair. Um, they still use, I mean, obviously they've gotten much better, but they still use audio animatronics in as many things as they feel, is needed. But um, that's something I think is just going to improve and get better. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, as far as what was I'm sorry, I got just sidetracked.
Yeah,
What's
no, just thinking about like historical moments or design
yeah,
choices or
moments.
philosophies that Walt held that we can still see alive and well today
Yeah.
as we experience the parks.
Well, historic, and this might not be exactly what you're asking, but it made me think about the 50th anniversary when we were working there and how important that was and how it felt to be a part of something like that. That was really neat. Um, the 50 years of Disneyland, and they went all out. I mean, at that point, Disneyland was kind of, I don't want to say falling apart, but the castle was really um, fading, like the colors and things just weren't kept up as well as they used to. And, without like calling out names, but it just wasn't kept up the way that it should have been. And all along that way, though, custodial, kept doing their thing. That's a whole nother story about why and all that. But um, so for the 50th, they brought in new management and they brought in people they knew would get things cleaned up and painted. And I mean, the park looked the best that I've ever seen it. I mean, every single thing was painted and redone and fixed and just, it was really good. I mean, everything was just, I thought, wow, they've gone all out. And, I don't know what they did for the 60th. I wasn't there, but the 50th was done really well.
How did it make you feel to be a part of that and contributing to all of that?
Uh, it felt like it was like I was doing something important.
Mm.
And even just being in custodial, I know I downplay custodial, like, no, just custodial, because I know that some people think that. Like, we've had people come up to me and say, so you're sweeping trash right now. When do you get promoted to an attraction or, you get to work the rides? And I said, actually, they make less than we do a little bit because we
Yeah.
have premiums for doing certain like restrooms and things like that. So they said, "Oh, I didn't know that. I thought this was like you start out here and you work your way up." And no, I said we have a lot more freedom. We can, and then they start thinking about it, like, "Oh, that sounds good," you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then not to downplay attractions because I'm sure they have their things. And we've talked to many people that worked in attractions all over the park on our podcast, which is um, fascinating to learn that we all kind of had that same vision, and it was taken care of, in a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of those roles serve their own purpose in
Hmm.
creating the ultimate experience, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of all of the roles there. It's my
Yeah.
dream that when I retired to work at Disneyland. So there was actually a couple of years ago, I was there over the summer and I was at a churro cart in DCA And the woman working there, the cast member, she was just so lovely. And, she was in such a good mood and so friendly. And I had asked her, like, wow, you must really love doing this. And she's like, absolutely, I do. I
Yeah.
retired 2 years from being a nurse, my whole career. And it was my dream to come work and do churros at Disneyland. And here I am, like
Yeah.
I'm living my dream. And I'm like telling her we're talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my dream too. Like me too,
Yeah.
At the time I was still in the classroom. I'm like, I'm a teacher and that's my dream. I want to work at a churro cart or a popcorn
Yeah.
stand or just something that just contributes to the overall experience, the atmosphere.
Mhm.
I think, although I would be happy to work at one of those, I think I would really love to work at the Bippity Boppity Boutique.
Oh yeah.
Um, that would just bring me so much joy. Or I don't think I would mind working in custodial. Like, that just seems like a pretty sweet gig. You get to talk to people more, you get to move around the parks more and like get to see and experience different areas and
Yeah.
get to wear a cool white outfit, like which I'm always impressed how they're like not trash, but that's just me and my inability to wear white. But
You know why they do that?
I would love
Why
to
they
know
have
why.
white?
Yeah.
So there's two reasons. So white is easily, you can bleach it to clean it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay.
And although white seems like it wouldn't blend in because it's just bright, it does. It blends in. So you're not like totally seen, but you're seen. I don't know if that makes
Sure.
sense. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like you're easy to spot if you're
Hmm.
looking, right? But you don't stand out like if you were wearing like lime green or bright orange or
Right.
something.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like the photo pass people in their bright green outfits now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think just like going back, like all cast members contribute to that overall experience of just enhancing the time that the guests have there.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. So thinking about history, is there like one fact or I guess that would be the best word I have. Anything historical fact that it's like your absolute favorite, makes you either feel more connected to the park or you just think it's funny. Tell us more.
Wow. I can't pick just one. I think let me think about this for a second. You might want to edit some of
Yeah, you're
this. That's
totally
a big
fine. Take your
question.
time.
That's a big question.
I know I
Um,
ask you to like narrow it down, and I'm the type of person where it's like, "What's your favorite food?" I don't ask me that. What's your favorite color? Can't choose. Like,
yeah. Uh, I think that so a lot of things that are connected to Walt
mm,
is important. Like when I ride the Mark Twain, I have so many things go through my mind thinking of the first. So that was, he had a party. It was a wedding anniversary party a few
yeah,
days before Disneyland opened, but they got to ride the Mark Twain that night. And it just made me think about that and how amazing that would be because right now people could ride boats and do things in other theme parks. Again, going back to that, um, I mean, at that time, where could you ride a riverboat in California or really anywhere at that point, you know?
right, yeah.
Um, I mean, I would love to go back and just for one day experience Disneyland in the 50s with the mindset of them back then and just looking at it like, wow, the new did you see the new documentary Handcrafted
Yes, I
Disney?
watched it last night.
Right. Amazing,
Mhm.
right?
Oh,
And
yeah, it was so
oh,
good. And just
yeah.
seeing their perspective. Yeah, I
Yeah.
also kept being like, "Ooh, look at all of those OSHA violations." Like
I know.
they were
It's so funny.
wild in the
Uh-huh.
50s.
Yes. No, but just looking at them and thinking, wow, if that was me there, like we take it for granted because we grew up with that. But to just walk into something like that with a castle and, just rides and have those kind of things then, and that were themed and just just amazing. So, like I was saying with the Mark Twain, there's a lot of history just in that attraction itself. There's a little stage on there, and one of the Disneyland After Darks, they had Louis Armstrong.
Mm.
I'm big into music and jazz, especially, but yeah, I mean, he would just played on that stage, and you look back and go, wow, it's amazing.
Wow. I did not know that fact. I love that type of music and Louis
Hmm.
Armstrong. Oh my gosh, I wish I could have been there. I didn't know that. That is so cool.
The little stage. It's only like a foot
Yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think on the second level. I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, and I
yeah,
think too, like even just the connection with, the Mark Twain is um Walt had this dream growing up to do a riverboat, and for various reasons, it never ended up happening for him, even though it was like, oh, this is the time. No, just kidding. Oh, this is the time. No, just kidding. So for him to like bring that back to the park and be, I'm going to get my riverboat. I'm literally going to make it. I'm going to make it happen from scratch.
and trains too. I mean, the whole
Yeah.
park was based off of it. Trains basically because
Yeah.
he had one in his backyard, and he was inspired. Ward Kimball who was an artist at or Disney, uh, took him to a train show in Chicago, and he was just so excited about model trains and training, and
Hmm.
said, "I want to have one," and it's just kind of escalated from that into this theme park. Like, where can I put my train? You know, and
Right.
of course, he had other visions of taking his kids somewhere where he could have fun with them together rather than just sitting on a bench.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's a place that was a long-term goal. Again, watching the documentary and to hear his daughter talk about, this was a vision he had started talking about when she was 5,
hmm,
and then I think she said she was like 21 or very early 20s when it actually
yeah,
came to fruition. And so just to know that this was something that, while he might not have known end results, right? It was a passion and a desire for him to create this space for people.
yeah,
Yeah, which makes me, think, I mean, he was a pretty meticulous kind of person, right? All the
yeah.
way back
Hmm.
to his early animation. Like he liked things the way he liked things, and he wanted them
Hmm.
done the way he wanted them done. And but to know like that the park was such a long-standing dream for him makes total sense as to why he just demanded perfection from
Hmm.
the park. And I feel like we still get to honor that today. Like when I think about places or things that have had as long lasting of a life, 70 years as Disneyland, oftentimes the quality tends to fall. And I know
Yeah.
that there could be some debate around, has the quality started to fall? But really, compared to where it started to where it is now, the experience has only grown, the quality has grown, the immersiveness has grown. It's just, um, I hope that if we could jump into his brain, he would be proud of kind of look at what you helped create, not just
Yeah.
physically, but also the mindset in which people have in order to
Yeah.
continue this place.
I think it's more challenging now than maybe it was then. I
Oh,
think
probably. Yeah.
people people seem, and maybe it's just my observation, but people seemed more considerate then for some reason.
Hmm.
I know that in custodial, we had our manager Ray who had been there. He was the second custodial manager. So there was Chuck and
Yeah.
then Ray. And then
Wow.
Ray, he just retired, I don't know, 10 years now. But I mean, it was only two up to that point. So we'd have meetings and he would talk to us and he'd, tell us stories about, because he had met Walt and, worked there when Walt was there. And he would tell us, yeah, I know it's challenging more now than it has in the past because just people evolve, they're different. And not just to say that we all are terrible now, but it's just I think people would come there dressed up. It was like a special occasion to go
Yeah.
to Disneyland,
Yeah. Yeah. It
and you
was.
act differently when you're dressed up, I think.
Sure. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. There's a lot of
Yeah.
psychology around that. Yeah. I mean, back
Yeah.
then, the Dumbo ride was, you just think of technology, right? Like
Hmm.
Dumbo was like, oh my gosh, look at this. Or Peter Pan
Yeah.
was just blowing people's minds, right? And now,
Mhm.
while those are enjoyable rides, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's not like you don't
Right.
enjoy it because it's technologically blowing your mind or the thrill, right? You have probably more nostalgic ties to it. That's why you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people just expect, because technology has changed so much, they expect
Right.
something bigger, better. Like what we can do now is
Mhm.
so much more.
Do you think that, so I have a question for you. Do
Yeah.
you think that there's some people, at least in my observation, some people just get Disneyland and some people just don't. It doesn't matter how much you try to explain it to them. I have people I work with that, why do you keep going back? I mean, you work there and you still love going there. And they say, I go and I'm just ready to leave. I can't stand it. You know, it's loud and all these kids everywhere.
Mhm.
And the rides really aren't that great because they're not, I mean, they're not exhilarating. You know, we like Magic Mountain, you know, and all this stuff. So I think there's just a certain type of person
Yeah.
only can appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yes. I think those people are boring and live sad lives. No, just kidding.
Exactly.
Totally. But no, I mean, I definitely think there are some people that get it and some people that no matter what you do, they're not going to get it for whatever reason, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
think specifically, like I have some family members, my brother I'm thinking of, and he's 21 and he went when he was little and he kind of he's like it was fine meh, 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 meh.
Yeah.
And I'm always going, right? He's like, again, I'm like, yep,
Mm.
mind your business. I have adult money. Bye. um and we were even talking recently, and I was saying some different experiences and talking about, he's getting married and maybe one day when you guys have kids. I'm like, I cannot wait to take your kids to Disneyland for the first time and like, just spoil them rotten and do it up big and do the whole thing. And he's like, oh, well, that sounds boring. I'm like, yeah, I never said you were invited. Like,
Exactly.
nobody's inviting you, dude. This is just give me your babies and goodbye. I will
Yeah.
raise them right. But yeah, I think, and then I also think that there's like a little subgroup of people that can be converted, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And they start to see it. Like my husband had never been until we met, and it just wasn't something that was on his radar. And now, while he doesn't enjoy it nearly as much as I do, he definitely sees the value and has a good time. And he's not even one that's there for the rides. He really doesn't even care.
Hmm.
Um, as Mark Bricky says, vibes over rides. Like that's what
Yep. Yep.
that's what my
That's true.
my husband's there mostly about. And I was even telling him I've got my birthday is in a couple weeks, and I decided this was the year I was going to do my first solo trip. So I'm so excited. And I had told him, like, okay, I was really thinking about, I'm always a rope dropper, and what was I going to do? And I want to do something different, and da 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 da, racking my brain, trying to plan my morning, and settled on what I think is just like the perfect morning of, I'm just going to rope drop. I'm going to get some breakfast to go from Jolly Holiday. I'm going to meander my way over to Harbor Galley, and I'm going to sit with a book and my breakfast, my DL Weekly Book Club book.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to sit there at that little dining area right at the river, and I'm just going to read and eat for as however long that I'm there for.
Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah.
watch the people go by and just get to see everybody so excited. And my husband was like, "Gosh, that sounds perfect. That sounds like so great." I'm like, "It will be great. Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It
you
it
can
is
get some
nervous.
converts.
It is nervous going the first time by yourself. Even after working there all those years and going,
Hmm.
I went by myself 5 years ago, and it was, yeah, you just think, oh, everyone's looking at you like, oh, this is loner.
It's
He's by
great.
himself, you know. And actually, I went on Star Tours, and this man looked over at me as we were getting ready to go, and he says, "Are you by yourself?" I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Lucky you." He said, "How is it?" And I said, "Oh, it's fun." I said, I enjoy going with my wife and my family, but there's some freedom about just like you were saying, just do whatever you want when you want.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Not having to consider what anybody else wants to do when they
Hmm.
want to do it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know I've got some friends who think I'm crazy. They're like, "What? That sounds so boring." Like, I'm like, "Oh no. I'm gonna have my books downloaded, my audiobooks. I'm gonna have all my podcasts ready to go. Like I've decided, my weekly podcasts, my weekly Disney podcast, I'm not gonna listen to all week because I'm gonna save it for that weekend. And
Hmm.
like, I'm ready to go."
Yeah. Well,
So speaking of trips and going to the park, if you could give one piece of advice that maybe people overlook or just don't even know that this advice is there, that would dramatically improve their experience, what would it be?
one of them is that you meant what you mentioned was rope drop. Like that's super
Mm,
important. I know that some people don't want to get up early. There's people that like to sleep in, but those first 2, 3 hours are so important. I mean, you can get, if you're really wanting to get on attractions that day,
yeah.
those are the ones, those are the hours to be there for that. Um, I always tell people, especially if they have kids, because this is what we would do, get there early, do everything you can, have lunch, you know, maybe at 11, 12 o'clock, go back to the hotel at 1,
Mm,
take a nap,
yeah.
stay till about 4, and then come back in, and then you're ready to stay later because Disneyland's so neat and special at night.
Mm,
I don't know, there's something about the lights and just it's almost romantic in a way too,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's really good. Rope dropping is probably one of my biggest tips as well. Yeah, this is
Hmm.
just I because I it's such a locals park, right?
Yeah.
People that are there locally and who get to go all the time, they tend to go in a little bit later, right? So the park picks up capacity wise, not for a few hours. And boy, yeah, you can
Mhm.
get a lot done.
Yeah.
And it's not even just about getting rides done. It's about the ambiance and the experience. And like you
Hmm.
can walk through the lands and see things and experience it in
Yeah.
this like calm. My husband was saying that he just really enjoys the early mornings. While some people you have like this little group, right? That's like rush,
Hmm.
rush, rush to the rides. The rest of it is just serene,
Hmm.
which is a cool experience. Hmm.
Yeah. I'd say the other thing I was thinking about was patience. Like
Mm.
you have to have expectations, and sometimes it's just going to be crowded, and
Yeah.
don't let that ruin your time.
Hmm.
Um, I always say like pick if you let every family member in your party or whoever you're with, friends, whatever, pick 3 things they want to do for that whole day. It could be ride the Mark Twain, go on Space Mountain, eat at, Plaza Inn. Like, okay, those are doable. And if you can do 3 things that you'd like to do that day, and everyone then anything after those 3 is like bonus,
Right.
then you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, that's really good. A super great tip. Have your list of kind of in some ways non-negotiables. This is a
Hmm.
must do, but also sometimes that's just not going to happen and you just need to
Right.
pivot and be okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To enjoy.
Disneyland's so I mean, I think that lately, I'd say the last 10, 15 years, it's just been so much more busier than when we worked there.
Hmm.
I mean, there was times where we had off-season times where in January the park would close at 7, 8 o'clock. You
Wow.
know, eight
Yeah.
o'clock was the normal. I would have a shift that was like a 1 to 9:30 because you stayed. Usually, custodial was there about an hour and a half after the park would close.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, 1 to 9:30, park closed at 8. You'd have your closing stuff you do, and then you leave. And that was like a normal thing for January, February, March, some of March. depending on when Easter was that year. Uh, Even October, we didn't have Halloween. It wasn't really, they'd put up some fall decorations, but it wasn't, they didn't have, the parties and things. I
Right.
mean, it's huge now. So I think the parts have changed for sure. Um, I think it's more challenging to go, but it's also, if you have those expectations, like we were just talking about, and utilize your time, I think it could be enjoyable.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's that's good. And it has changed. I know people ask me sometimes, oh, when's the best time of year to go? Like when it's not so busy. And I'm like at this point, never.
I don't
You're
know. There's
you're
downsides to, like, right now, if you were to go on like a Wednesday,
hmm.
this time of year in January, uh, it might be fine, but there's a lot of closures right now. There's
Right.
things that are coming back to normal after the holidays, like Small World and Haunted Mansion,
Hmm.
Rise of Resistance. I don't know when it's coming back, but it seems to be coming up soon, for a while. So
Yeah. Or
you
even
know,
like the fireworks, and kind of
yeah,
those uh quote
Phantasmic,
unquote off seasons. If you're there during the week, you're not going to get that experience.
right,
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
But if those aren't as important to you, you just want to go. Yeah, it's probably a good time. But like you were saying, never, because it just, I don't know. I don't I don't know if you went in the 90s at all, but like especially the late 90s, it was just, you could run through Adventureland, you know how it is now,
Hmm.
without like hitting anyone straight through
What?
in the middle of the day.
Now that's
Yeah.
wild. I mean, you could do that if you rope dropped,
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly,
Well, now
exactly.
I maybe kind of after the first like 5 minutes as everybody piles their way to
Hmm.
Rise of the Resistance, and then you wait a few minutes and then you're like, okay, now I can. Maybe I'm gonna do that, Lynn. Maybe I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna
Okay.
sprint through Adventureland
Hmm.
on my way to the Harbor Galley area.
Oh, okay. I want to see that. You have to have
Okay.
video.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would like to see it too. With my coffee and my food in my
Right,
hand. I'm
right.
like, don't spill it, don't spill it. But
Exactly.
trying
Uh,
to, I'll just zigzag all over the place just because I
yes.
can. Uh, well, that's a good, nice little chuckle as we maybe bring ourselves to the end here. And it has been so lovely to talk to you and pick your brain and just get your perspective. But I have one more question for you if you're up to it.
Yes.
Um, After our time together, sitting here, it's been about an hour. What do you hope our listeners will feel or maybe even understand differently about Disneyland after hearing your stories and learning a little bit more of its history?
Maybe it will inspire them to learn more about Disneyland's history, because we kind of touched a little bit. I mentioned a few little things, but um, I mean, there's just so many. I have a huge book collection. It's like, that's the thing. I don't collect I do have pins, but I don't have a lot. I have maybe like 50, but books is my thing. I have so many Disney books, mostly Disneyland, but I do have some Disney World, but mostly Disneyland, books about the Imagineers. And I've went down that rabbit hole and just
Mm.
gone crazy. I mean, every time for Christmas, people ask, "What do you want for Christmas?" Oh, I have a whole list.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Hey, I have those in my Amazon
yeah,
list too.
yeah. I don't know how many books I have. I mean, probably 300, but Um, anyways, so yeah, you could, I hope it inspires people to look more into that. If they go over to, this is only helpful, not, I guess it is a promotion too, but the sweepspot.com, we have a recommended like reading list of books that I put on there. And I think those are some of my favorite books that I recommend for Disneyland.
Yeah,
Really.
that's wonderful. Well, you are speaking to the right kind of audience. People are most likely here they love the history, right? And
Mhm.
they listen to this podcast particularly to glean more of that history, or they're just my dad and really supportive.
No.
Although he's been really loving all of the history too. But
Good.
so you're here for two reasons. You're either my dad, or you also love Disney history.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad you're doing the podcast because that was one of the things that I mean I heard about your show on Magic Key Adventures from Stephanie,
yeah,
but
yeah.
'cause I'm friends with Stephanie, and I I heard that you did Disneyland history, and that drew my attention. And I went, oh, good, because there's some out there, but not a lot that focus on the history. There's a lot of news, and that's fine. We do a
Yeah.
little bit of that, but um, I don't know. So I keep it up. I like it,
Thank
and
you.
yeah. If you ever need help, need someone else to come back, I'd love to do it. I love talking Disneyland.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to have you back. You plugged thesweepspot.com, but where else could people find you and connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram, the Sweep Spot, or it might be just Sweep Spot. I don't know. Try one of either of those, and then
I'll put the link in the
Facebook.
show notes for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember what it is. Um, of course, our website, our podcast can be found, where all the podcasts are. Our books, Cleaning the Kingdom. We have uh like the insider tales, of keeping Walt's Park spotless, and um we talk about all the behind the scenes, the typical day as a custodian, just a whole bunch of funny stories, and just things that went on. The hijinks, as Ken always says. Um, and so yeah, you can read. And the second book's more about. It's also called Clean the Kingdom with a different subtitle, and it's more about the history of the custodial department.
Mhm.
And like I mentioned a little bit about that. And then we also had interviews with people that were there, like the senior cast members, some of them that worked there when Walt was there, and what it was like to not be open on Monday and Tuesdays back then.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, so you can check those out. Like you listen to the audiobook. They have them on audio, Kindle, Apple Books, paperbacks on Amazon. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And thank you so much for coming on, and for reaching out and connecting with me. It's just been such a joy and a pleasure to just get to meet and have the Lynn Barron come on
No.
my little baby podcast. So it's been a real honor and just fun connecting with more Disney lovers, people who get it.
Well, thank you so much. Keep it up. I encourage people to just keep going, because I know in the beginning it's hard, and it's hard to get people to listen, and it just I don't know. I just think keep plugging away, keep doing it, and and have fun. That was
Yeah.
the thing. I thought, you know what? If two people listen to our podcast, I'm having fun talking Disneyland with someone else, and or
Absolutely.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of my mindset of
Mhm.
even if nobody else listens, I'm just enjoying it. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of history I know, but there's a lot that I sure don't know. And I've enjoyed the research part of things.
Yeah. The research is the fun part, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love
So,
that.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much again, Lynn. And we look
You're
forward to
welcome.
having you back.
Great. I can't wait.
Conversations like this are why I love doing this show. Disneyland isn't just shaped by Imagineers and architects, it's shaped by the cast members who show up every day, care deeply about the details, and understand that the smallest moments often mean the most. I'm so grateful to Lynn for sharing his stories, his knowledge, and his heart for Disneyland, and for reminding us that when we understand the history and the humanity behind the park, the magic becomes even richer. If this episode made you want to slow down on your next visit, notice more, or experience Disneyland a little differently, I hope you carry that with you the next time you walk through the gates. And next time, we're switching gears just a little bit. In the next episode, I'll be sharing a full trip report from my very first solo Disneyland trip. a birthday celebration for me. But there's a twist. I'm taking on a challenge. My husband said, yes, I could totally take this trip. However, he said the entire trip, the park, tickets, food, any extras had to all be under $1,000. So, on my next episode, I'll break down what worked, what didn't, where I splurged, where I saved, and what I learned along the way. I am so excited and I can't wait to share it all with you. Now, if you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow, rate, or leave a review. It truly helps more Disney dreamers discover the magic of the parks. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Once Upon a Castle Podcast or on TikTok at Virginia K. West. After our conversation with Lynn, I am dying to know, my friends, what are some of your special, less common tips or facts about the parks that you can share with others to make their day in the park even more magical? Share those thoughts in a review or over on TikTok or Instagram, or you can do what Stan did and send me a little email. And I'll put my email and all of my socials in the show notes for you. And I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. Maybe I'll try some of those tips on my next trip. Now, before I leave you, there is something that's been on my heart and mind, and I feel like I really just need to get it off my chest and share it with you guys. I have personally been feeling the weight of the world these last few weeks with the current status of where we are as a country and everything that's happening. My heart is breaking and I'm devastated that we are at this place, and I'm trying to find a way to move forward. I'm trying to find a way to help and speak out. And support those who are directly affected. So if you are also struggling with trying to make sense of things, trying to figure out how you can help and support where you belong in all of this, please know you are not alone. And please reach out to me if you need somebody to talk with or process or brainstorm on how we can all come together. I am here for you and this community. And if you are somebody that is directly affected by all of this, I am so terribly sorry that you are experiencing this. And I'm here for you in whatever capacity that needs to be: a listening ear, a prayer, or just simply knowing that there are people out there that support you and love you. And all of that to say, I just want to encourage all of us to go out, to love humans, to treat people like people, to do the very best we can day in and day out to make the world a better place for each and every person that exists in it. If you need anything from me, my friend, please know that I am always here, and I love you all, and I appreciate you being here in this little neck of the woods with me, and I love doing life alongside of you all. Now, with all that being said, my friend, until next time, keep the magic alive, keep the memories close, keep being the light and the love in this hard world, and always, always remember that I'm wishing you a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Goodbye, my friend.
Okay.